Alright, this is CIS-125. Introduction to Programming Logic with Language. And the first thing I need to do, I need to correct this. I wrote that up there wrong. 207, 165, 226, 184. Alright, so now you can access the server remotely. This is locally, and that's remotely. Server where you're doing the work. Okay, so this is the work we did on Monday, a couple days ago, and in the fall of 2015. So we talked about the structures, we talked a little bit about assignment 1, we reviewed speaker notes and conditionals. We still have some work with that, and we just are getting started on assignment 2. So the structures. When you design software, you can perform one process follows another. That's sequence. Everything goes down, and in this case we have the box here, process boxes, here's a print box, but we're talking about everything just flowing down. In pseudocode, you got an action word and commands and just everything in a straight line. And so far the first 2 assignments are all sequence. There's no looping, no conditionals, and so forth. They're just sequence, going straight down. A couple notes about the boxes. You know, it's got the arrows touching. Process box, 1 arrow in, 1 arrow out. So you see that? 1 in, 1 out. And the same thing with an input-output box, 1 in, 1 out. You would never have another arrow come up in there, off the side and so forth. Okay? That'll make more sense later on. Okay? Next thing. About conditionals. A conditional, and you'll hear it sometimes referred to as a selection. We have a diamond, and in there we make a decision. You know, it might be greater than, might be less than, might be equal to, could be greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, and so forth. And we can compare 2 things. You know, typically storage locations. We can compare those. If they're true, then the processing goes this way. If it's false, the processing goes this way. Okay? So in here, we can have all kinds of processes. You know, there could be more decisions, there could be just sequence, and so forth. Okay? The same thing's true over here. This is crucial. Must come back together. You know, so I got my lines pointing there. Must come back together, and then the program continues. So you come in, you decide, and it's one way or the other. Based on this statement, true or false. If it's false, it executes these over here. And then if it's true, it executes these over here. And then they always come back together. 1 in, 2 out. Always label true and false. You got to have those labels there. And it always comes back together. That box is known as a decision box, the diamond. Okay? Got the little explanation there. The pseudocode always looks like this. You have your conditional, and then here are the true lines, and here are the false lines. So if the statement's true, we do this. If the statement's false, we do this. And it's one or the other. If this conditional is true, we do this. If it's false, then it's an else, and we do this. And here's the end if. And you can see the end if represents this coming back together. So that's conditional. The last one is iteration. More or less, we're going to repeat something. We have two different types. We got a trailing decision, and we have a leading decision. This is the one we will refer to most of the time. Okay? How that works, we have a connector at the beginning, and then we make the decision box. In this decision, again, if it's true, we're going to do the loop, come back up here. If it's false, then we can go on down to the next line in the program, the next lines in the program. That's often referred to as a do while. Here's the end do. You can see here are our lines. You know, whatever you're doing, and this could be sequence, there could be a conditional, you know, decide which way you're going to go, and so forth. So do while this condition is true. As soon as it's false, then we go to the program from here on. And then we mentioned a trailing decision up here. You have a connector, you do all your processing, then you decide. If it's time to get out of the loop, you get out. If it isn't, then you do it again. And so do until, so you have your condition, your conditional here. Do until. You're going to do this until you meet the condition, and then you go down here. Alright, so those are the structures. A couple key things I want to mention here. No processing in between there. You go from your connector to your decision. So when you're coming in, like this do while, you come in, so the loop's here, okay, and you don't process anything right there. All the processing's here in the loop. And later on you'll see where you'll want to put something there, and that's just a rule. You can't do that. Alright, well, that's the end of the review of the major structures. Right? You got sequence, and then you have a conditional, and iteration. Iteration is sometimes called looping. And we should understand the rules and how to draw those, similar to what I did here.